All right, let's get it going right here, right now. This is an Eyes Up Here YouTube exclusive. I am sitting here right now in the Eyes Up Here studio, usually joined here by the Queen of Extreme, Francine, who we all know. She's told us for weeks she's been going on her grand Queen of Extreme vacation. But I have replaced the Queen of Extreme this week for this breaking news story. And only to be fitting, I guess it's not the king, but it's close enough. It's a franchise. I'm joined here tonight by the one and only franchise Shane Edward. Joining me tonight for a YouTube exclusive. Shane, is there anything in the wrestling news that we can talk about? Because I haven't heard anything lately.
Yeah, it's been sort of quiet, but for all the viewers out there, tonight you're really going to want to keep the eyes up here because it's not quite as well endowed from here down as Queenie Pooh is. But by the way, you've already called her and let her know, like, this is expensive, right?
Yes.
If I don't get that $1.99 by the end of the week, I'm never coming on again.
Trust me, it's way above my pay grade, and I had to get it all cleared.
Yeah, so, I mean, I'm getting the news the same as everybody else. I've not got any kind of inside information. And other than to say it's shocking, when I had first heard of the FBI investigation, I just sort of naively thought we were going to be hearing about embezzlement charges, white-collar crime, that kind of thing. And what's being alleged, is pretty heinous. It's pretty bad. But again, this is the wrestling world, right? I mean, so you can't just come out and say, "Hey, I scraped my toe." It's got to be something really juicy, I guess. But you've been searching, and I've been doing as much as I could. At the same time, I was trying to get some homemade chicken noodle soup down there. It's try to get rid of this this cough I've got, but I haven't had a chance to really dig too deeply, other than to say that just on the surface of it, reading it. And if any viewers out there know if they've been able to do any more research and find out, A, have those texts been verified? B, are they for certain from those people? Well, I'll just let you ask the questions because it's
there's a lot of layers.
Plenty of them.
So it all goes back to, if you type the name Vince McMahon into your search bar, you used to get a couple things. You used to just get a Wikipedia, maybe a couple of old clips, maybe a few photos, but not today. There's a lot of allegations. There's a lot of court documents. And like you said, there's a lot of text messages. But, there's the Wall Street Journal piece that really kicked it off last summer. That really was the domino effect that really set the ball in motion with a former employee that turned out there were some monies exchanged, and then there were some monies cut off that led to this lawsuit, that led to these court documents that we saw today, and all these articles that have just really set the wrestling world on fire. Ironically, on a week where WWE just completely blew the world away with this Netflix deal and changed the way wrestling programming is going to be. And that's another story for a different day. It's not even a pimple on the behind of life right now. I'm looking at 17 different article names that I could just, if we say them by name, we'll get kicked off of YouTube. Yeah. But where do you start, Shane? I mean, this is a guy, Vince McMahon. Obviously, you have your history with him, but the history of Vince McMahon has had a lot of history like this, but this is now black and white. There are papers out there now, and if you are listening to this now, you more than likely read the article and you saw paperwork today, and that paperwork kind of blew your mind.
Yeah, we've often talked in the past on different shows that we've been on together. And I liken this very much to what I call the bubble, right? If you put 10, 15, 20, 1,000 people into the same room that you're in that think just like you do, you're going to come to the quick realization that, hey, we're the smartest sons of bitches on the planet. And each one of you in that room is going to believe you're smarter than all the other SOBs in the room. It's an echo chamber. And Vince McMahon has resided for the vast majority of his professional life in that edifice called WWE, WWF, Titan Towers, whatever name you want to use. And so for the uninitiated out there, it's hard to explain to somebody that's not been in the business for length of time as to the mindset that some of the guys in our business get. And I'm not alleging this about Vince. I'm just saying in general, just like to give an idea of the culture. There are people inside our business that believe that the same rules that apply to everybody else out there don't apply to us. And so, for the most part, think about it like, you go to a hotel, especially with WWE now as they become, I've seen where they have security, fans aren't allowed past a certain place. And these people are segmented off in major ways from the general population. And they do get treated differently, right? It's like, I remember Europe years ago, it was like the Beatles were pulling into town. So there's that. And then when you've been the head of this hugely, immensely successful empire for what, 40 plus years? And then around the business most of your life before that, when your dad owned it, you could see where this sense of entitlement, sense of protection, sense of invincibility would come from. What was it he said on the stairs of the steroid trial? I'm Vincent fucking McMahon. So you can see, where a lot of that comes from. Now, that all said, let me put my former civics and constitutional law teacher's hat on. These are allegations at this point, and that's why I think you spent so much time digging this evening, and I spent as much time as I could to try to verify some of this stuff. There are some interesting highlights, I think, to stick out to. First of all, the fact that this is a lawsuit that's been filed, and there are court documents, so it's in, and that may negate or undermine my second question, is the validation of the text that we're seeing. It would seem to me that somebody like Vince, who's got deep pocket resources, right? I mean, he could drag your ass into court and torture you for a decade, if not longer. And it wouldn't be any sweat off his butt. And he wouldn't care one way or the other. His bank account dropped a little bit, just as long as he was torturing you. So we're going to stay very much to the high road on this. And I think, constitutionally speaking, he's not been found guilty of anything yet. So, let's give him what every American should have, their constitutional rights. That said, if somebody had put texts out alleging that they were mine, saying some of the things that they've said that are being said and attributing them to me, I would certainly be talking to some slander and libel attorneys because there's been no conviction yet, which would necessitate, if you're going to throw those type of words around and alleging those things, and being such a public figure like Vince McMahon is, this impugns his character, right? I mean, this is like, that's why we're seeing this rapid fire of articles coming out. And everybody, the big joke today is, hey, heard any good rumors lately? It's just one of those things that we're going to have to let play out to see where it goes. Now, all that said, if these things are later proven true, I would say that, like anybody else, you should receive the punishment for those things. The world, we talk about this all the time when we're just in our civilian conversations about how much the world has changed out there, and it has. In many ways for the better, in a whole bunch of ways I would argue not for the better. This guilty before any proving of guilt, guilt because I said you're guilty, and ergo you're guilty. That's a dangerous slippery slope. But it's if these things are not true for Vince and the others mentioned, I think it's one of those things. You take 10,000 people out there and show them those articles. And I'm sure there's going to be quite a few more in the next few days and coming weeks and months. Some number of people out there, even if there was written in stone evidence proving innocence, they would say, oh, got off because he's rich, right? So, we're in a really funky place right now with the legal system. Most Americans, for obvious reasons, have very little faith in that system. And, it's, I'm just trying to give both sides the due. If this was done to this poor girl, then she should get her day in court, and there should be punishment meted out for it. If not, then what's the punishment back the other way?
Right.
I don't know if you can make somebody whole again after that.
Yeah, I mean, it's incredible too. And then also the fact that, a lot of times, and there was a couple in the text messages where there were names redacted. There are not names redacted throughout
Yeah,
this lawsuit. And I mean, I don't want to go into the names just because I don't want
right.
myself implicated at
Yeah,
all anywhere down the line that they say, hey, that Chadster guy brought my name up at some time during a video podcast. There were names named, and they're big names, and
yeah,
some superstar level, some executive level,
yeah,
some guys you might know. And that was pretty shocking to see, some may be, some may not be,
yeah.
but they name names. And at this point, I mean, and maybe I just don't know lawsuits that well, and that might be a good thing.
Yeah.
But I mean, this early in the process to get the names out, I was kind of surprised by that. But again,
Yeah.
maybe I just don't know lawsuits so well.
Well, it again depends on what has been put out there. I mean, we've seen in other cases recently where names are withheld, for a long, long time, and once the, you know, 6 months from now, let's say this thing just like quietly just dries up and blows away and goes nowhere. 6 months from now, nobody would remember this. Very few people remember this conversation we're having or the names that were named. But again, there will be some number of people out there that once they've seen it will think, "Oh, the guilty." No question. They're just getting off because
Right.
they're famous wrestlers or, very wealthy men. Uh, so this is why we have in the system a constitution. This is why we have courts and hearings and filings and all the rest of it. Uh, it would seem to me to be fairly easy to prove or disprove if texts belong to somebody or not. And I'm no computer guy, as you know. So I would seem to think that if I'd send a text from my phone to you, wouldn't be too hard to go, hey, this is look, here's the what is it, the USP number, the ISP number, whatever the hell they call it, URL, and boom, it's you or who had your phone. So it's going to be a lot to look into here. It's I don't think it's on the level of an OJ trial, but because of the stature of the people that are involved, we're obviously going to have, quite a few eyeballs on this. I don't know where it ranks now, but several years ago, WWE was something like the sixth most recognizable brand on the planet. So this is going to be, this is not just the United States. This is worldwide right now. I'm sure, and the people in Europe that are going to be waking up in a few hours and looking at their news feeds are going to be pretty
Yeah.
shocked, I think. But yeah, there's a lot here. There's a lot to unload, and I would be, my differences with any of these people aside. Uh, I'm a stalwart. If we've talked about this a million times. I am a bedrock stalwart of the Constitution, and the Constitution guarantees certain things, and in a sense, still proven guilty and all of that. Uh, and my guess is, I doubt this will be going to trial anytime soon, if it's just breaking now. So this is going to be fodder for a long time for wrestling podcasts and a lot of other shows out there. And in the meantime, I'm curious to wonder as to will there be other allegations that start popping up. When something like this happens, and we've talked about the culture inside the company prior. Uh, there may be other people and maybe a whole lot of other people that have experienced stuff like this. Again, I'm just going off the top of my head. This is not read a single thing, not heard any rumors from anybody, but just looking at this as a company that size, that powerful, and if other people start coming out, could delay things. It could even drag it longer. So this is going to be something that we on these different podcasts and things will be talking about for quite a long time. But again, I caution, Vince McMahon and others named are innocent until proven guilty. And this young woman shouldn't be slammed by WWE fans saying, "Oh, she's going for a quick buck or whatever," because she has her right to have a day in court too. And so, it's so shocking to me that, if proven true, if huge if capital letters, this is the kind of thing that suddenly I think is going to put our industry under a scrutiny that maybe it hasn't had before, maybe should have had before. We've talked about this again in our private conversations and on many, many podcasts about the afterlife for professional wrestlers. It's I think our industry has a lot of places where it can get black eyes. The one thing I don't think it needs is any more pushing towards the ledge. Any more additional crazy things coming out. So it's I'm surprised that it's been this long. After that thing came last summer, like you said, and sort of died out after a while. Next thing you knew, everybody's talking about something else. But clearly, this thing has legs, right?
Yeah.
If it's still sticking around, no judge has dismissed it. Which again, I would seem to think that, if you accuse me of murder because I sent you a text or something, by now surely they would know that these texts were not mine, and instantly throw them out. I even haven't even had a chance to look at it into like the Franny sent it earlier, the Reddit account that had the links.
I dug. I went deep in.
Okay, so like
she's doing a great job producing where she is right now. She's doing a great job. I will give you a thumbs up, Queen. You're doing a great job.
So like, but where did those texts come from? What's the allegation on the texts themselves?
Well, I mean, the text message is allegedly coming from the phone of one Vincent Kennedy McMahon to the former employee, describing things that were going to happen or have had happened previously, and him seemingly organizing parties coming and going.
Yeah. But I mean, as far as them being released today, were those released in the documents?
Those were released as articles in the documents.
Okay. So that means the court,
section 169, 148, 152, they're in there.
Yeah. So, I would seem to think, especially because of Vince's notoriety and visibility, that a court, if those are still in the documents, the court would have easily been, like, let's say he had a burner phone, or let's say somebody else sent them alleging that they were him. I'm sure the court right now would be saying these wouldn't be in there. These are not admissible as evidence because you can't prove who they belong to.
Right.
Again, I'm just trying to put my cap on, like, back and forth from wrestler to teacher. Would it be possible if I would say put out text like that and say you sent them to me? Would it be possible for you to say, well, Shane and I were talking about a show we were booking, and we were, it's going to be for adults only or whatever, because again, folks, the things that are in those texts are pretty disgusting, childish as well, juvenile. So. And looking at that again, it's just, this is what I want, like, to be able to sit down tomorrow when I finally get to my destination tomorrow. I'm going to sit down and look through them. Like, are these, like you said, part of the articles that have been submitted by the court, or released by the court, I should say, submitted by the defendant and the victim, alleged victim and defendant. It's going to be really interesting to dig into this. And right now, I'd imagine there's a good chunk of the planet, right now, because sitting around, there's probably 1 in 10 households that are looking at this right now and digging in. So who's to say where it goes? But if it's stuck around in the court system for over a year, it looks to me like it will be going to trial at some point. And, it could be, it could be really damaging for a whole lot of people.
I think there's the bigger story. Again, the first story that came out was I believe around the time of the purchase, right? And the TKO Endeavor sale, right? This one comes out after the Netflix deal. There's been in between there a lot of departures, guys who've been there for a long time, no longer in the company. That is just speculation on my part of saying that's a little interesting. So You never know. There's so much more to this that I'm sure will come out over time, but this is only the beginning.
Well,
My point of view.
I had heard an interesting point that another friend had called earlier today to ask. He was asking if I remember at the time of the sale somebody mentioning that it was sort of rushed. And I don't. I didn't dig into that. I heard the thing had been sold and didn't dig it all into it. None of my business. Don't really care.
I don't remember it being rushed. I mean, I remember it coming out that all of a sudden TKO was the lead dog. But I could have sworn that like Nick Khan had gone on TV and said like, it looks like, TKO Endeavor is going to be the one. It didn't like just pop up overnight that it was like, oh, there you go. Like, I think that there was a little bit of leeway that we knew
Yeah.
there was going to be movement, but no, because remember, the one that popped up was the Saudis. Remember, everybody freaked out. They were like, "Oh my god, WWE's being sold to this!" Oh my god,
Right.
that was the one that I think that everybody was like losing their mind over. That it was out of nowhere. But no, I think the TKO one had a little bit of legs and fostered it over time.
And I can't even recall the quotes that were attributed from the. We had a long conversation about a bunch of different things, but they said that I don't even know what his source was, but it was the question that was, I guess, being asked ultimately was, did they rush into this sale to try to get ahead of these coming out, which would have clearly damaged the price, right?
Yeah.
I don't, I can't imagine there would have been too many people, thrilled with spending that kind of money for something that, when allegations like that are being made, you could have weathered through them and waited to the other side and been worth more, but who knows? It's yeah. Again, I'm speculating on stuff that people have told me. So, strike that at just me, my brain vomiting out loud and different things. Again, I didn't dig into that sale at all, other than just was a bit shocked by the number. And considering UFC sold for what, 4.2 billion.
Yeah.
And more than 2+ times that. And it's and look, I well, again, I don't want to go into that because I think it goes too far down. Somebody could mistake what I was about to say and say that I was defending this one or that one, and I'm not. I'm just like a bystander, like everybody else was looking in on this stuff and shocked, at it. But we have talked multiple times in the past about the types of things that I had personally seen there, and so obviously nothing ever like this. I can't say I ever saw anything like this, or got a text or anything sent to me like this. But when you have that kind of a closed door monolith, that this world exists inside of it, and I guess I think the larger public has uh, the thought, especially today with wrestling being so exposed, that like when Troy Martin comes out of the building, he's not really Shane Douglas. How many times you heard, well, that Mr. McMahon, that's a character that he plays. And I think that emanates from the whole point of that. What I'm talking about, this structure that there's no doors into or out of except a secret one that we use, and so nobody can see in, nobody can hear stuff out. And so we can go in there in the dressing room. We talked about like locker room banter and stuff before, and there is a lot of that in all pro sports, not just wrestling. Uh, in the past, I did an interview one time, a promo, where I talked about the dressing room being the inner holy of holies. And for anybody of you familiar from religious realm or historical realm, that was the place in the temple where only the religious heads were allowed to go. Anybody else would be executed going in there. And that really is probably the best modern approximation of a wrestling arena, dressing room. Many fans have been in the back and they've seen like where the guys' stuff is and the women's gear is stowed and everything. It really is a closed door society, and things that go on. And there are very tasteless things that are said in the dressing room, including by me. It's part of just being in that locker room banter. So it's This is going to be an interesting one to watch and see how it plays out because there's so many facets to it. And like you said, so many of the names named that, again, if not true, then this is a travesty for those people because they're gonna be walking through the gates of hell.
Yeah.
But if true, then this young woman has the right to have her day in court as well. I think a whole lot of wrestling fans are going to be shocked because surely in some way there's going to be a lot of sordid details that pop up and quotes attributed to and allegations made and further digging deep. This is going to take on an again, not like the OJ trial did, but this is going to have a whole lot of eyeballs on it around the world. And I wonder, like for Endeavor's case, if this comes out that this was like some kind of a culture inside of WWE, and we had spoken about that privately, does suddenly their $9 billion investment take a hit? Because this is the entity that spawned all that. So there's a lot of tendrils of this, and it's going to really be fascinating to watch play out.
It is, and again, it's just the first, or maybe this is the second layer of the story, the second chapter. We shall see where it goes from here. But Shane, I appreciate you jumping on for this Eyes Up Here YouTube exclusive. You joined us this week on Eyes Up Here, our podcast, but your podcast, Franchise University with Shane Douglas. Tell the Eyes Up Here listeners and YouTube audience about where they can find everything going on with you.
Yeah, and all the great podcast outlets. James Romero from England and I have taken on a new podcast called Franchise University. Play on me being a teacher, by the way, if you didn't catch that. And we really get into the stuff. We have a lot. I wish that he would tape the stuff that because we talk usually 30, 35, 40 minutes before we even start taping. And I find a lot of that stuff to be as interesting, at least to me, than the other stuff that we talk about. But it's a great platform. It's for us that as a young kid in wrestling, you could never imagine that there's going to be these things called podcasts that so many people around the world are really addicted to. And I just go from like my experience in having done podcasts. And, getting a lot of feedback from it. So for everybody out there listening, we really appreciate it and hope you tune back in this coming week. We have a bunch more new episodes coming up, and I'm sure we'll be talking about this as well. So, and hopefully by then have a little more validation on some of the information.
Absolutely. Yeah. WSI Network on YouTube. James does a lot of great work. So check out James and Shane, full Chadster endorsement there. Again, I love that you came on tonight. I know the Queen of Extreme will be very thankful as well. I'm sure you will hear about that. But our time here is done. Please, if you haven't done so already, subscribe to this channel, Eyes Up Here with Queen of Extreme. Grab yourself a YouTube membership if you'd like. There's some exclusive content for you there. Just uploaded a match that I believe you know very well, Living Dangerously. You and Chris Candido versus Lance Storm and a mystery partner. Do you remember who it was?
Yeah, Al Snow.
Remember those things flying at your head?
Yeah, I more like a bad dream because of the night that I wrestled him. And having that whole arena just turned to purple and that sound and stuff in the ears. It was just a little bit much. I should have been nowhere near the ring that night. Credit to Al Snow. What a great match that turned out to be. All him.
Yeah. Well, we uploaded the match. We watched it. We talk about it, and it's up there on our membership tier on this YouTube channel. So check it out. And again, Shane, can't thank you enough. So we will get out of here. Normally, I would say we will catch you on the flip side, but I will let this guy close it out.
Appreciate it, guys. Talk to you soon.
Come on, say it. Say your line. You know it.
What? Cut the fucking music?
Get your ass.
Oh, get your ass franchised. Hard to do with this cough.
I love that guy.